Welcome to the Pandemic Pinup Happy Hour. It is yet again Sunday, and I'm yet again making more cocktails. Let's do, I guess, a little bit of housekeeping, as I've seen a lot of people call it online. Just a few details about me, the class, where you can find all the things that I do. There is an Instagram account at Pandemic Pinup. That's where all the recipes go up during the week. I have a TikTok account also at Pandemic Pinup. I post absolutely different videos, but still cocktail related for the most part. Usually Monday to Saturday, unless I forget. And then these classes stream live on the Underground Cooking Club Facebook page, and they later get uploaded to my YouTube channel, which is The Chef with Red Shoes. And I know that's a lot to remember. It doesn't match, and I know, and there's nothing I'm gonna do about it because I'm really bad at social media. So find me wherever you can, engage however you will, and drink some cocktails with me. But today, our class is called The Ladies' Room. And it's a play on words, kind of, because I'll be doing a few variations of a classic gin cocktail known as the White Lady. So classically, that cocktail has gin, lemon juice, orange liqueur, preferably a triple sec, egg white optional, and simple syrup optional. Now, those ratios will change depending on where you get your recipe source from. There's no absolutes when it comes to making cocktails. It's kind of like the way parents cook. When you're growing up, it's just, oh, you add this much salt or this much herbs to whatever you're making. So you can find different recipes that'll have a 2-ounce quart of gin, others that'll have 1.5 ounces, some will have a half ounce of lemon juice, some will have a 3/4 ounce. So there's different variations out there. My usual build is 1.5 ounces of gin, 3/4 ounce lemon, 3/4 ounce of triple sec, or a spoon of simple, and an egg white. But I'm not doing that today because I'm doing all variations. But what I would like you to remember is just that basic structure so you can see where I got the inspiration to kind of alter these ingredients and create a different riff on this cocktail. So our first one is going to be called Lady in the Sun, and I'm really excited about this, mainly because it's an egg white cocktail, and if you watched me before, those are some of my favorite cocktails, not only to make, but to drink. I really love the texture of an egg white cocktail. I love how it holds aroma. I think they look gorgeous, and they're just super tasty. So you will be needing a shaker for every single one of the cocktails today. And out of all the ones we're making, this one is probably the most prep heavy. And what I mean by that is before the class, earlier in the week, I usually release a list, like a shopping list, and instructions on how to prep certain ingredients. Sometimes it's as simple as making a simple syrup. Sometimes it's as easy as just cutting up certain vegetables or fruits. But sometimes it's a little more time consuming, such as it was for this cocktail, where there are a lot of infusions happening. So we have a turmeric infused gin, a fig infused Grand Marnier, which is an orange liqueur or a cognac, and then I have a turmeric simple syrup. So there's a lot of infusions and flavors happening here. So this is definitely a more prepare ahead of time type of cocktail. You can't just make it on the fly. So we're gonna start with 1.5 ounces of turmeric infused gin. And turmeric is a root very similar to ginger, but it's bright, bright orange. And if you've never worked with it before, it will stain everything you own and your skin for several days. So I'm sure it's not very visible on camera, but I have these like bright yellow stains across different parts of my palm. It looks like I kind of roughhoused with a marker. But you could totally wear gloves. I ran out of gloves, and I also really don't care if my skin is stained. But if you are going to chop it, don't chop it on a plastic white chopping board unless you want to bleach it later. We're going to add in a 3/4 ounce of fig infused Grand Marnier, a 3/4 ounce of freshly squeezed lemon juice, and then a 1/4 ounce of turmeric simple syrup. And I kind of wanted a cocktail that just kind of had all of the regular elements you would find in a White Lady cocktail, but adding a little more depth and a little more fruitiness. So hence the fig, and then the turmeric adds like this earthy, lightly bitter depth to the cocktail, which I really enjoy. Plus, it gives it a beautiful color. So egg white cocktails, what do? We have to dry shake and then wet shake. So I'm going to put an entire egg white in here. And there are other recipes that'll say like a 1/4 ounce of egg white or a bar spoon's worth of egg white. And that's all well and good if you buy boxed egg whites. But if I'm cracking open an egg, I'm going to use the whole egg white because it just seems kind of silly not to if I'm going to open the entire egg. And egg yolks can be used for a multitude of applications if you're not actually putting it in a cocktail. So if you're going to make these and you don't know what to do with your egg yolks, reach out to me. I've mentioned many uses before in other classes, other shows, but if you weren't there or you don't remember, just let me know and I'll give you a whole list. So a dry shake means we're not using any ice. So I have all of my ingredients in my shaker. I'm gonna make sure it's really tightly sealed. And you wanna make sure you're keeping both hands securely on your shaker because it will create a pressure and try to open your shaker and you don't wanna paint your walls. So I like to shake for about 10 seconds, maybe 15. If you feel the pressure of your shaker start to increase to where it wants to kind of pop open, then you can stop shaking. You can give it a little shake, shake, shake. And this just kind of loosens up a lot of those proteins and the albumin structure of the egg white to make it nice and frothy. So now that we've shaken it a little, I'm gonna add some ice. You do need to chill and dilute the cocktail. So we're gonna shake it again and it's gonna be about 10 to 15 seconds. All right. So it got cold. Beautiful. So I call this cocktail Lady in the Sun because it is a very, very pretty bright yellow color. So I'm going to strain this into a clear glass today just so we can also see the pretty color. Look at that. In the beginning, it'll kind of look like turmeric milk if you've ever had that, or golden milk, I think is what it's called. If you've ever had that at like Starbucks. But as it sits, I'm going to let it kind of hold there for just a second. That white will start to rise to the top, and then the yellow will stay on the bottom. Now, garnish-wise, you could do so many things here. You could garnish with a fig. You could garnish with an orange. You could garnish with a lemon. You could garnish with nothing at all. You could garnish with botanicals that are in the gin. Whatever you want to put on your cocktail is absolutely fine. You don't have to do what I do. As well as these recipes, they are strictly guidelines. If you come to taste this and you think it's too sweet or you think it's too tart, please feel free to adjust accordingly. So I have this neat little lemon coil that I've prepared, and that's going to be my garnish. And that, guys, look at that. Oh my gosh, do you guys see that color? Oh, so beautiful. And that, guys, is Lady in the Sun. That was the sentence I was going to say and then forgot. Ooh, my lemon is super happy to be in this cocktail. It is so classy. I don't know if that's something that makes sense, but have you ever had something that you just taste it and you're like, this feels expensive, this tastes rich, but in a like fancy kind of way. It just tastes really classy. It's really nice and bright with that lemon, and that fig comes through really nicely. I do think my selection of gin kind of affects that the cocktail is so nice. I'm not sponsored by any particular brand. I tend to use Sipsmith gin quite a bit. I really, really like it. And if I'm being honest, I would probably redo this cocktail with their new gin, which is a lemon drizzle gin. I think they take like a lemon cake and put it in the gin mix when it's being made or something like that. It's crazy. I haven't had it yet, but I hear it's really bright, citrusy, pretty, really flavorful. And that would just amp up this cocktail to an entirely another degree. So I might try that and then come back to you guys and let you know how that turned out. But moving forward, our next cocktail is something I'm calling, excuse me, miss. As you can tell, I tried to pick like all lady names or puns or idioms. This is kind of my thing. If you've never tuned into one of my classes, it's a thing, guys. This is how I come up with names for my cocktails. So we're also going to be shaking this one. Now, what I did a little different for this particular cocktail is I wanted to we're going from kind of like young, fun, and flirty to trying to be a little bit more refined and then just being really bold. Those are kind of like the female personas I was trying to embody with these cocktails. So the Lady in the Sun is just really bright and free and happy, and you want to be close to her and be her friend, and she's just so classy. Now, excuse me, miss, is someone you definitely want to be with at like a dinner. You want to be invited over to her house or her private parties, but she also just looks like she's always got things together. So my entire concept for this was kind of to do the same base, right? We're sticking to gin, change up the ingredients a little, and then take the egg white out, but represent it differently. So we'll get to that in just a sec. We're going to be using 1.5 ounces of gin. No infusions, Use any gin you have at home. There are so many brands out there. You can use Hendrix, Sipsmith, Tanqueray, Beefeater, Sapphire, whatever you like, use that. So 1.5 ounces, pour that directly into my shaker. And then my orange liqueur is going to be a 3/4 ounce pour. And there's also a lot of different orange liqueurs. Curacao, there's triple sec, there's just orange liqueurs. There's things like Grand Marnier, which have a little bit of a sweetness and a more depth and richness to them because they're cognac based. Pick one. I'm not here to tell you strict rules because I don't like strict rules and that wouldn't fit my persona or what I'm trying to teach you guys. There's a lot of flexibility within what we do, the drinks that we make, the food that we make. So if you can't find exactly what I have, I'm sure there's something in your market close to it. If you're not sure how to shop or what to look for, let me know if a certain category is overwhelming, because I know there's so many different kinds of bourbon and there's so many different types of tequila, and just liqueurs themselves are just an overwhelmingly large category. So feel free to ask questions at any time, whether you're slipping into my DMs, I think that's how that phrase goes, or whether you're just messaging me, which I think is pretty much the same thing. But you are more than welcome to ask any question. No question is too silly, too dumb, or something I haven't heard before. So we have the 1.5 ounces of gin, the 3/4 ounce of the orange liqueur, 3/4 ounce of my fresh, oh, sorry, no, 1/2 ounce, almost overdid it, 1/2 ounce of my lemon juice. And this is kind of where the recipe starts to change. We're going to add a 1/2 ounce of port wine. And the port I'm using today is a ruby. The two more traditional styles of port are going to be a ruby or a tawny. And I've used both. They're definitely not the same, but when you're using them in small amounts in a cocktail, I call them absolutely interchangeable. So I happen to have ruby on hand, I'm using ruby. So 1.5 ounces of gin, 3/4 ounce of orange liqueur, 1/2 ounce of lemon, 1/2 ounce of port, and I'm going to do just a bar spoon of simple syrup. And that's just because the particular wine brand that I have, when I was testing it out, the cocktail just needed like a hint of sweetness more than it had. Kind of like adding a pinch of salt when you're cooking something. You could absolutely omit this. You don't have to include it, but I'm going to. I'm going to add some ice. We're going to give it a really healthy shake. We're going to do about 15 seconds, guys. All right. Beautiful. So where is the egg white, you might be asking? I decided that instead of putting it into the cocktail, it's kind of gonna make it into the garnish. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna strain this up into my glass, which means no ice. You could absolutely serve this over a rock in like a rocks glass, like a big format ice cube. Absolutely acceptable. And then my garnish is going to be this meringue cookie. And that's where the egg white comes in, guys. Little snack with my cocktail. It's trying to stick to my drink. There we go. So a little bit of a different take. No egg white foam, but a little snack on the side. That being said, meringue cookies do not like humidity or moisture. So this is something that you would definitely want to garnish almost immediately before serving, and encourage whoever's drinking it, whether it's a guest at your bar or somebody at your house or just you on your own, eat the cookie first and then come to the cocktail. And what I like about that is it's going to also kind of balance out the cocktail. You could totally do it without the cookie. You could just do a lemon twist. You could just express the oils on top and get rid of it, whatever you want to do. But excuse me, miss, while I drink this cocktail. Now see this one, definitely the gin is very, very forward. You can taste it a lot more. There's a lot less going on, a lot less ingredients trying to get together and have a party, if you will. So this one's definitely very gin forward, very similar to the classic. It's just a little bit fruitier than the classic because of the port wine, but it's also a little lighter in a way. It's not as, I find that a lot of white ladies that I've tried are sometimes too gin forward. Like they almost taste like a martini had a bunch of lemon juice spilled into it. And that's really not my particular personal preference, but some people really like that. But I like this. Also, I like excuses to use my really pretty fancy glassware. So that's the excuse me, miss. I'm gonna do that again. The best part of my class is I get to sit here and drink these cocktails. That may or may not be the reason that I started doing this, so that there was an actual reason for me to have something to sip on, rather than doing it irresponsibly. All right. And last but not least, I'm gonna make a cocktail that I'm calling Boss Lady. And I'm calling it that for a couple reasons. One, I just think the flavor profile is really rich and bold. And that's kind of what I think of when I think of someone who's in charge. I think of someone bold with some attitude, a little spice. So for me, I wanted to do a take on this cocktail, but go whiskey, because I'm definitely a whiskey person. I adore whiskey in almost every single format. I'm not a huge Scotch fan. I do like some of them, but I'm big on bourbon, big on rye, big on Irish. So I figured make a whiskey version and then add a little punchiness to it with some spice. So shaker again. And what we're gonna do is we're going Irish whiskey this time, guys. We're gonna do 1.5 ounces. That's kind of my standard pour for all of these cocktails. If you were paying attention today. So 1.5 ounces of your Irish whiskey. Any brand will do ya. And then we're gonna use something called Benedictine liqueur. Now, Benedictine liqueur is an herbal kind of flavor profile. It's also on the sweet side, but we're gonna use a 3/4 ounce. It's definitely got a little spice to it, a little herb. Like when you smell it, I get like plant, like grass and roots, a little like rosemary kind of smell to it. Got very light amount of citrus. You get a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of baking spices, but it's got so many ingredients in there that I don't know if everybody really knows what they are, mainly because I'm pretty sure it's a very protective recipe. But that's what we're using today, Benedictine liqueur. It is essential to this particular cocktail. I know there's like 1 or 2 brands that are not specifically Dom Benedictine. This is obviously well, not obviously. This one is probably the most famous. It's where Benedictine became popular. So if you can find a Benedictine style liqueur, cool. If not, you need to get this one. Just get the small bottle. It's not something you're going to drink all the time, but it's a really cool modifier to have at home. Modifier being a liqueur or an alcohol that you add into a cocktail in a smaller ratio than your main base, which in this case is my Irish whiskey. So we're going to do a 3/4 ounce of that fresh lemon juice. And I'm going to add a 1/4 ounce of simple syrup. And I found that this was a little necessary because the balance of the Irish whiskey with the Benedictine was just a tad not quite there on its own without the syrup. Again, simple syrup at this ratio for like a 1/4 ounce or below, completely optional. You could leave it out. It would still be a really pretty cocktail. And that would just be a personal preference of balance. You know, there's people who like their fries unsalted. There's people that, you know, like to salt their own things. So I like to think of simple syrup a lot of the times as like salting a cocktail. You can do a lot with a little. So simple syrup, lemon, Benedictine, Irish whiskey, and we're going back to the egg white. Boss lady likes her egg white. In this case, boss lady being me. All right, we're going to do that dry shake. And again, about 10-15 seconds. Really just trying to break up that egg white and make it nice and fluffy. And then we're going to add some ice. Some people like to shake this cocktail and only add like 2 ice cubes and then shake until they can't hear the ice anymore, until they're fully almost dissolved. And that's one way to shake an egg white cocktail. The other is to put a ton of ice in it, shake the crap out of it, and then strain it. It's really personal preference. I had a cool cameraman that could like go around me and make my shaking look way cooler, but this is what it is, guys. All right. So for the Boss Lady cocktail, I'm also going to strain this up into my cocktail glass. You can see I chose another cocktail glass that's colored. You can't see through it. Now, this particular cocktail just has a kind of normal color. It ends up being very similar in color to this particular whiskey, for example. So I didn't feel like it was entirely necessary to put it in a clear glass. I really don't use a lot of colored glassware, mainly because I'm a person that likes to know what I'm drinking. I like to know what it looks like. I like to know what it's going to smell like, what it's going to taste like. And I feel like we consume a lot through the eyes. But I fell in love with this glass and I felt the need to use it. Thought it felt really fancy. And as a boss lady, I don't really care if anybody can see what's in my glass because I already know what's in there. So that was my whole premise for this glass selection. Now, garnish-wise, what I wanted to do was kind of bring out some of those aromas and flavors that are in the Benedictine. So I'm just going to be real simple here and grate some fresh nutmeg right on top. And I'm only going to do on like half of the glass. Just real subtle. Nothing crazy. Oh, that smells so good. Now I kind of want an Irish coffee. Yeah, guys, I don't know if you guys can see that. Let's see. No, not really. White on white doesn't do well on camera. But the picture will look really nice on the Instagram account later this week, so you can check it out there. That is so good. Oh my gosh, guys. I don't know where to start explaining this flavor profile. Let me see, hold on. Okay. First off the bat, it's a dry cocktail. What does that mean? That means, so when something's dry, that's kind of a descriptor that we use within the industry when something has like an astringency to it. So think cranberry juice. If you're not familiar with wines or things like that, think cranberry juice. That effect that it does to your mouth where it's like, that's like a tannin or an astringency that your mouth feels. So when something is dry, it's going to skew close to that kind of sensation in your mouth. If something is sweet, it's going to not have that effect. It's going to be the complete opposite. So if you are familiar with wine, dry would be a Cabernet, sweet would be something like a Riesling or a Lambrusco. Those are sweet. Or, well, Lambrusco can be dry or sweet. But so first off, it's dry. Then you get these hints of spice. You're getting a lot of spice first off of the nutmeg grated on top. And then there's like that depth of flavor from the Benedictine where it's got a light herbalness to it. It's just really pretty. And then the whiskey comes through, but the whiskey comes through subtle. Boss lady's not yelling at you. She's firmly telling you what to do and how to do it. And she is telling me to sip this cocktail one more time. This is my favorite. If you can't tell, this is my favorite. I love gin. Let me just say that very clearly. I love gin. All the other cocktails are also very delicious, but I'm a sucker for some whiskey. That being said, guys, those are the cocktails for today. Quick, fun, nitty gritty, done. But next week, I'm actually really excited. We'll be doing, I'm pretty sure, a first on the Pandemic Pinup Happy Hour, where I'll be doing an entire class on non-alcoholic libations. And in case you're one of the people that might be groaning in the background hearing that there's no alcohol next week, sometimes low alcohol content or alcohol-free beverages are really, really handy. Let me give you a few examples. I know a lot of people that live a sober lifestyle for different reasons, whether it's religious reasons, personal reasons, maybe they're in recovery, maybe they just don't like alcohol and how they feel drinking alcohol. I think it's a sad, sad thing for them to have to miss out on beautiful looking drinks that have all of these complex flavors, because you can absolutely do that without having to use alcohol. So that's reason one. Some people live a sober lifestyle. I've also bartended for a lot of pregnant women who try to stay away from alcohol. And I also feel like it's not fun if you have to go sober for, your 9 months, because you're bringing this whole new life into the world, that you should just have to miss out on the cool experience of the bartending world and all that mixology can offer. So that's another good reason. And then one of my favorite things is if you can create a low alcohol content or non-alcoholic beverage that feels and tastes and looks like a cocktail, that experience is really rich. So if you're a total all-day drinker, or maybe you're in a meeting and you want to pace yourself because you want to make sure you're looking professional, or because it's going to be all-day conferences, you don't want to be sloshed 3 or 4 drinks in. Sometimes you forget to eat, those kinds of things. So having a non-alcoholic option or a low ABV option is really, really handy to kind of put intermittently in between your drinks. So what I'm going to do is do an entire class on really cool, in my opinion, very complex tasting non-alcoholic cocktails. I have done low ABV cocktails on the show before, so if you missed that and you're looking for that kind of information, reach out. I'll send you directly to that particular video. I can send you the link. I can send you the recipes that are on the Instagram so you don't have to sift through all the information. I've been doing this for about 1.5 years now, guys. It's a lot of recipes. There's a lot of content out there. So if you're just brand new, showing up and tuning in, you got some catching up to do. If you've been here for quite some time, thank you. It's appreciated. But so next week, like I said, non-alcoholic cocktails, then we'll be doing some whiskey sours, and then we'll be doing digestives. So August is a really full month. I'm super excited. Thank you for tuning in. I hope your Sunday is going very well. If you would like to contribute to me doing recipe development and providing all these recipes and just having some fun on my day off, which is not really a thing in my life, feel free to reach out. My tip information is online. I accept cash tips or electronic tips on Venmo, Cash App, Zelle, PayPal. I'm here to take any tips whatsoever that'll help me continue to do this because I find it really fun. And if you find value in it, then that just makes me happy. But it is not required to tip your bartender at this particular time. So please feel free to just soak up all the knowledge, try out all the recipes, and then share your results with me. Other than that, I'm going to go finish these. Well, I'm going to take photos first because I have to do that so I don't have to remake them. But I'm going to go take these photos and I'm going to go drink these cocktails and I will see you guys next Sunday. Cheers.